We think it is either the vodka or she is going blind. We are about out of gas. She is worried about this. Al just called his car Bessie Marie. Al says don't talk about the gas tank being almost empty. The needles are big, tall rocks that look like needles. Lots of birches and rocks. And then you look down for miles of beautiful valleys and pine trees. We went to Crazy Horse Mountain and stayed at Custer, South Dakota. Stopped about 10 o'clock. Left Custer at 9:30 a.m. Wednesday, September 2nd, 1981. Headed to Cody, Wyoming. This is our destination today. We entered Wyoming at 10:30. The country changes looks very much as soon as you enter Wyoming. The highway is pea gravel, red in color. Just past a big old expensive looking ranch, beautiful home. We're going to stop and eat. Al said we can get rabbit to eat. I believed him. He was kidding. We are seeing a lot of oil wells and tanks out in the fields. Also a lot of range land, blue prairie grasses everywhere you look. We're starting to see antelope along the sides of the interstate. Not real close, but close enough to tell what they are. In Wyoming, we will see Bighorn Mountain, Yellowstone, and Jackson Hole. Hope to catch some fish here and cook on the stream or river. Fish and cornbread, beer. We are about 100 miles from Bighorn Mountain, and we can see them in the distance. This is the first of the Rocky Mountains with snow on top. 1:45 p.m. Wednesday, September 2nd, 1981. Jerry's been riding for 1,600 miles with his knees apart, with beer cooler in front. He and Al just finished out where to set the cooler. Al says that if he had ridden much farther with his knees apart, he would become a prostitute. Or a Wyoming cowboy. While Al drives and is now a straight stretch, which is most of the time. He spreads his long legs apart and puts everything in automatic. This Old West is sure big and beautiful, lots of prairie land. Jerry started to hit the button hard now because when we go up 13,000 feet to Bighorn, he will be ready for AA. All you can see for 50 miles is prairie grass and plateaus. Cows spotted and antelope. The most in a herd has been about 12, but altogether, since we hit the Wyoming border, we've seen about 300 antelope or more. Thank you, Lord, for letting me see this beautiful West, and for having a master like Al to lead us through. The skies are blue as you have ever seen them, which makes this view so breathtaking. We have seen the snow fences along the roads all the way here and there, just where the snow drifts so bad. What amazes us is that there are very few trees, houses stuck out in the prairie with no trees anywhere. Then you may see a house where trees are around it. I suppose they planted these because the prairie is barren land, dry and lonely looking. We are in downtown Sheridan, Wyoming, and saw mule deer very close to the road. The Rockies are to our left. With the binoculars, you can see the snow caps very clear. Arrived at Sheridan at 3:30 p.m. Took 6 hours from Custer, South Dakota. Al says we are going face first into the Rockies. He says, keep a tight ass. I got that underlined. Our camera has messed up and we lost 72 film. All the Badlands and Mount Rushmore are gone. Also Crazy Horse Mountain. Now back to business. We are starting up Bighorn at 4:30. Jerry is drinking whiskey and Al is making plans to get us over. Extra oil and plenty of gas. Jerry has locked his door and is going to get out an extra pair of shorts in case he has an accident. enjoyed the heights. It sure is pretty, and we aren't ever started good yet. Al says to Jerry, keep looking and it will probably get easier. God, what a view. My eyes are popping. Jerry says, Al, I've got to live long enough to get my cabin finished. Don't look off the road. Jerry says, Al, you love to scare me. The temperature must be about 50 degrees and we aren't to the top yet. Just came to a beautiful man-made lake, then a trout stream and a beaver dam. The water in the stream is very cold. We are hoping to see big game, but nothing yet. We just saw a doe about 140 pounds. She stood and looked at us about 50 yards away. Went about a mile and saw a buck mule deer about 160 pounds, but velvet on his horns. Really. Horns about 8 inches long, just came up to a beautiful waterfall along the side of the road. We were able to walk over, look down on it, still in the Bighorn Mountain area at 8 o'clock. We'll spend the night in Cody, Wyoming, arrived at 9:30. Ate at Irma's Hotel, which was built in 1902 by Wild Bill Cody for his youngest daughter and named it for her. Old cherry bar with a buffalo head carved into it was given to Wild Bill by Queen Victoria, shipped by boat and then brought to Cody by wagon. Beautiful.
Jerry?
Hello?
Food was good
Jerry?
too.
Yes, ma'am?
I forgot to turn my sound back on after church.
Oh, okay. The number I have on my cell phone for Paul said it had been changed. And I'm still at Mama's, so I don't know. In my other book, I may have a different number. I just wanted to check and see what number you had.
For you?
For Paul?
For Paul?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me tell you, don't have any more news. It just wanted to let him know.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Let me let you go. I don't know how to go from a call to a text, so I'm going to text you his telephone number.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Okay, keep reading, Ann.
Okay. Thursday, September the 3rd. Stayed in Cody overnight, went for a raft ride, an hour and 20-minute ride down the Shoshone River, beautiful rapids. We all got wet up to our waist, except Martha Nell, who got skirt wet too. Al said after he got his crotch wet because he was spread eagle. Where are my diapers, Martha Nell? Can't you imagine him saying?
You have to say it like he would say it.
Yeah, where are my diapers, Martha Nell? The fellow named Kit Carson, after Wild Bill Cody's son, who took us on the rapids, is Wild Bill's great-grandson. He was about 35 years old and very nice. We went by bus out of town to Rapids, then back in by bus. After this, Al and Jerry went trout fishing, and Martha Nell and I did the wash. We will spend the night here. Oh, I forgot to mention that we went to the City Museum, which has all Bill Cody's history. Clothes, guns, huge place. His boyhood home has been moved here. In it, we saw an old potty chair like the one Jerry got a few weeks ago from Gufford Vessels, and we had no idea there was one like it around, so we have a very old piece. Wild Bill Cody was born in 1846, and this was in his home. He died in 1917. This town is all his. He made it, and without his name it would be nothing. We will stay here and go to Yellowstone Park Friday, September the 4th, 1981. The park is only about 50 miles from here. If they catch fish, we will cook them on the way to Yellowstone. They just came in with 7 nice rainbow trout, 100 inches of fish. We left Cody at 9:30 a.m. Friday morning. Friday, September the 4th, 1981, we ate breakfast at a roadside park. Al fired up the gas stove and made a good fire on the grill. We cooked rainbow trout, scalded cornbread, cantaloupe, coffee, honey, and Marguerite's tomato preserves. Yummy, was it good? The best breakfast a man could want. the dry mountain air across the road was the river rapids and mountains just everywhere. You look, Jerry fished while we cooked. You could hear the water roaring across the road. Brown trout in the part of the Shoshone River. No luck here. You could see the big brown trout, but they could see Jerry because it was so sunshiny and clear. Al says these are the best fish he ever ate. The mountains have so many different rock formations. We are now on the road and 19 miles from Yellowstone. We will stay in a cabin way up in the mountains and cook out tonight and have Jane Helm's country ham. Al says the bear may smell it and want some. Enter Yellowstone at 1:45 p.m. The mountains are getting higher and higher. Al says if you all don't follow me everywhere, you are big chickens. I got that in quotes. This morning earlier he said, well, I've got a funeral procession behind me. That's in quotes. We were going slow looking for a place to cook and all these cars were behind us. I can hear him now. Well, we got a funeral procession behind us, Gary. When they passed us, we pulled off. There were 8 cars. He has said so many funny things on this trip about 2 or 3 times each day. He gets us so tickled that we have to wipe the tears from our eyes. He calls himself Alvin Beard. When he asked Martha Nell for his black rimmed glasses so he can see, so he thinks he looks like Alvin Beard. So finally he is using Jerry's, but he says after a while he gets to staggering because they are too strong for him, except to read. Just saw the first snow-capped mountains about 13,000 feet up. My ears are starting to pop. We are gradually going up. Al says this car is like a weak cat. I'd better put it in 2. I got number 2. I don't know what that means.
Second
Drive to.
2 gear 2, I guess.
Yeah.
We thought about Pat when we ate the fish. He would have made himself miserable eating fish and hoe cakes. Al says the car is like a weak cat because we're up 5,000 or 6,000 feet. He'll say, look there at that big bastard and about go off the road. And then Jerry will say, God damn it, Al, watch the road. There are poles on each side of the road marked with yellow on the tips because the snow gets 18 feet deep up here. The air is getting cooler all the time. Martha Nell is looking for grizzlies. Al says look for moose because they're thicker than hell, and then said look at the procession behind us. So he pulls off to let the procession go by. Just came by Sylvan Lake. Al says this lord has not been disturbed by man.
Land.
Okay. Has not been disturbed by man. Lester Farmer hasn't been in here because Lester has a bulldozer. Al has pulled to the side of the mountain and Jerry again said, God damn it. God damn. The temperature's up to the 60s and a pleasant flannel shirt feels good. Al says, look where someone ran off the road, and Jerry said, by God, I thought you were too. Al is our tour guide. He tells us what to look for, drives and talks, has driven every mile, but he enjoys riding along slow and enjoys looking. He
That's good.
can drive all at the same time. We are going to stop and drink out of a small mountain stream and have a drink of whiskey.
Oh.
Al says that bear won't like us drinking his water. And Jerry said, well, give it back to him in urine. Al says, look over yonder at my granddaddy's, and Jerry says, what's that? And he said, it's them damn things that go off them geezers. He called them geezers.
Geysers.
Imitate Al, some of these responses.
Look at them damn geysers. We could see the geysers, smoke coming up from a long distance, but Al says we can't get to these. The most beautiful lake down below. We can see old faithful blowing and see the Teton Mountains 60 miles away. This was Yellowstone Lake. Al says the meanest thing up here is that son of a bitch of a volcano. Here's what he says, it farts and blows and bucks.
How does he know so much about the West?
He'd been there before. He and his sons had been. Now we are down by the big lake going around it. It's just like it was when Columbus discovered America, untouched by man. Seagulls are on the shore. Al says maybe this is Old Faithful getting ready to blow his ass. He says, you just don't know what you're looking at. Look at the serenade. Jerry says Old Faithful's bowels are about to move, and then we smell sulfur. Al says they just did. Just saw our first buffalo. Al says, look at him wobbling his ass. It was a big one. We see someone ahead and on a motorcycle, and Al says, is that him or is that a she? I believe it's she. He sees a camper and says, looks at this humpback son of a bitch. It's the ugliest son of a bitch thing. I wrote exactly what he said. If I had to ride in that, I'd just as soon walk. Had to buy a camera here. Jerry's snapping pictures, and Al says, now you're a thrashing. When Al gets home, he says, I'm gonna take a hacksaw and cut that emergency brake off. Mud volcano ahead. They churn and bubble out of the side of the mountain. 185-degree temp with sulfur smell. Jerry is wishing that he had been made a buffalo so he could live in this heaven. We are all excited with the beauty of this place. Al is ready to see a big grizzly, but we just saw another big moose. Just saw a beautiful waterfall. Al wants to know if we need noodles and doodles or chips and snips. You know, he was full of crazy stuff. When we stopped to get beer, noodles and doodles or snips and chips. Al's talking about getting Martha Nell some nectarines, and he means nectarines, but he said something else. He bought her some in the park store. We have been talking about getting separate cabins tonight. They are $12 a piece. That's cheap, isn't it, back then? But Al says he thinks that he doesn't know if it's worth $12 or not. He says he did rather buy Martha Nell $12 worth of nectarines. I guess nectarines. Al has been very horny all week. 8,859 feet now. That's how high we are. We have often said how the settlers must have felt seeing this for the first time. Jerry snapping pictures right and left, and Al said it's gonna need a new clutch by night. It's 6:30 and we are still riding in Yellowstone. We saw our first breakdown and a car and a trailer with the wrecker. Al says now he knows better than to pull that trailer with that old car. He said that would be like me trying to take care of a 19-year-old woman.
So how old were you all then?
Oh gosh, 81? Yeah, in 81. So I was born in 34. 44, 54, 64. We were 50. We just came across a calf and a cow elk. The mother weighed about 800 pounds. Jerry got 15 feet away from them, and the mother started toward him, and he had to shoo her away right on the roadside. We went about a mile and saw another big one with her calf, and then two more big cows with a calf. Just everywhere you look is either beautiful lakes and streams and nothing but pines, fir trees, spruce trees, acres and acres of these. 4 more are up the road. Gosh, what fat, shiny animals. These animals, none of them are afraid. They just keep on grazing. The grass is up to their stomachs. They have a paradise to live in. We are headed to Old Faithful, but can't make much time for looking at the elk. Just saw another herd. We saw a live we saw a line of cars behind a stream, and there were 2 bull elks, about 800 pounds or more, like with big, huge racks fighting. Then another down the road and a piece. Cars were lined up for about 1/4 of a mile, taking pictures and watching. I got so excited, I fell down in the gravel getting up the hill to watch. The fish we ate this morning has Al's stomach hurting, and he says when he gets to Old Faithful, he's got to straddle a pot. He said it feels like he has to, his belt pulled real tight. We are in geyser country now. Everywhere you look, they are boiling up. Arrived at Old Faithful at 8:30. We have ridden all day. We are looking for our cabin, and Al was about to run over the curb. And Martha Nell said, "You are about to get on the curb," and Al said, "It ain't up very high." So I was trying to quote everything he said because it was so funny. Spent the night here and watched Old Faithful blow. Ate supper at the huge cafeteria. Then I start on the other side.
So was this where you had the armadillo that you were holding up?
No, I think that seems to me like that was
Louisiana or something?
yeah.
How does it start
That
out?
was like when we took the Natchez Trace.
Okay. Daddy and Libby Ball.
Yeah, they were with us.
How does it start out, Mom?
Oh, this thing's left Lebanon at 7:45 on Sunday, Indiana, Illinois. Then arrived St. Louis at 2 p.m. Left St. Louis at 3. Saw the 630-foot arch gateway to the west of the Mississippi, where the western settlers crossed the river and headed west. I had to make this all up as I wrote. Left St. Louis at 3 o'clock. Next large city will be Kansas City, Missouri.
I wonder if did you write it as you were driving or
Yeah, as we were driving. Because I'd have forgotten what was happening, I guess. In St. Louis, we saw a lot of old riverboats playing Swanee, Camtown races, and McDonald's riverboat with the twin smokestacks. Crossed the Missouri River about 3:20. We will cross this 2 or 3 more times. Arrived at St. Joseph, Missouri at 9 p.m. Sunday night. Ate at Red Lobster and stayed at Vermont Inn. Of course, my memory was a whole lot better then. I could remember it at the end of the day what to write, I guess. But again, it was really good about how it described all the West, I think.
Good job.
Good job, Nan, Lucy.
So I was gonna take that and scan it. Is that okay?
This?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are you all gonna give it to Al's kids?
Terry,
down the road, I'll take it and let
them read it.
Terry was
whoever.
gonna